I've been a long-haul truck driver for a little over 11 years now. I've driven through blizzards in Wyoming, dust storms in Arizona, and once hauled freight through a hurricane on the Louisiana coast. After a while, the road stops feeling dangerous and starts feeling normal. But there's one night I still think about every time I pass a dark county road after midnight. This happened in late October 2018. I was hauling a refrigerated trailer from Kansas City down toward rural Arkansas. My delivery time was tight, and my GPS routed me onto what it said was a faster farm road shortcut. Normally, truckers avoid shortcuts at night, especially in unfamiliar areas. But I was tired and behind schedule. At first the road was paved, just a narrow 2-lane highway with nothing around except trees and fields. No houses, no traffic, not even mailboxes. After about 20 minutes, my GPS said, "Turn right onto County Road 12. I slowed down and saw the sign. A small wooden post with peeling paint. Under it, in faded letters, it read, "No services next 18 miles." I should have turned around right there. Instead, I turned. Almost immediately the pavement ended. My headlights hit a dirt road cutting between cornfields. Fog was sitting low across the ground, like it was resting on the fields instead of floating in the air. I remember thinking it was strange how quiet everything felt. No crickets, no wind, just my engine. About a mile in, my GPS lost signal. The screen just said recalculating, then went blank. I kept going anyway. I figured the road would reconnect to the highway. Then the truck jerked, hard. The steering wheel pulled and the whole cab dipped forward. I hit the brakes and felt the trailer shift behind me. I tried accelerating. The wheels spun. Mud sprayed up past my mirrors. I was stuck. I sighed, grabbed my flashlight and climbed out. The ground swallowed my boots almost to the soles. Thick, wet mud. The road must have flooded recently and dried on top, leaving a soft layer underneath. My rear tires were buried nearly halfway. And that's when I noticed something. There were no tire tracks behind me. I walked back about 30 yards with my flashlight, and the road behind my truck looked untouched, smooth, like nobody had driven there at all, which made no sense. I had just come down that road. I suddenly felt watched. I turned my light toward the fields. Way out past the edge of the road, I saw a person standing in the fog, just a silhouette, too far to make out details. Not moving, just standing there facing me. I called out, "Hey, road flooded up here." No answer. I took maybe 4 steps toward them, and the shape was gone. Not walked away. Gone. I stood there a long moment before heading back to the truck. As soon as I reached the door, the engine shut off by itself. I know for a fact I left it running. The headlights stayed on, but the engine was dead silent. Then inside the cab, the CB radio crackled. I froze. I hadn't heard a single other. My truck all night. Static filled the air, and then through the speaker I heard a voice. Not loud. Not clear, just a whisper. "Shouldn't be here." I climbed into the truck fast and grabbed the mic. "Breaker 19, who's there?" Only static. Then slowly from the passenger side window, a muddy handprint pressed onto the glass. From the outside, I swung my flashlight toward the seat. For a second, just 1 second, I swear someone was sitting there. A dark outline in the passenger seat. I opened the door and shined the light inside. Empty. But the seat was wet, like someone had been sitting there in soaked clothes. My truck horn suddenly blasted. I jumped so hard I slipped off the step into the mud. The horn kept blaring for about 3 seconds, then stopped. I climbed back in, locked both doors, and tried the ignition. The engine started instantly, like nothing had ever been wrong. I didn't care about the mud anymore. I slammed the accelerator, and the truck pulled forward. No resistance, no spinning tires. The truck drove perfectly, and the road ahead was paved. I checked my mirrors. Behind me there was no dirt road, no mud, no fields, just a normal highway stretching back into the darkness. But in the side mirror, I saw something standing on the road where my truck had been stuck. A person, completely still, watching the truck leave. I didn't stop again for 4 hours. I made the delivery at sunrise. When I parked and stepped out, my legs almost gave out, because on the inside of my driver's side window, there was still a muddy handprint. From the inside. I cleaned it off myself. I never told my company, and I never ever take county road shortcuts anymore. Because I don't think I got stuck in mud that night. I think I stopped somewhere I wasn't supposed to. I didn't plan on telling anyone about that night. For almost a year, I kept it to myself. I convinced myself I was exhausted, hallucinating, Maybe I had microslept while driving and imagined parts of it. Truckers run on little sleep. Your brain plays tricks on you sometimes. But the problem was, things didn't stop after that delivery. About 2 weeks later, I was parked at a truck stop outside Amarillo, Texas. Normal night. Engines idling around me, parking lot lights, other drivers walking around. The kind of place where nothing feels isolated. I woke up around 3:12 a.m., not from a sound, from the feeling someone was in the cab. You know how you can just feel when someone is there? I opened my eyes slowly and looked toward the passenger seat. It was empty. I exhaled and sat up, and that's when I noticed the inside of my windshield, fogged over. Every window in the cab was clear except the front windshield, like someone had been breathing directly onto it. And in the condensation, there was writing. 3 words. Still on the road. I stared at it for a long time. No way it was there when I fell asleep. I run a small fan in the cab. My windows don't fog like that. I wiped it off. Immediately. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. After that, I started noticing smaller things. My CB radio would randomly click on, even unplugged. My GPS would reroute me onto backroads for a second, then correct itself. And sometimes only late at night my passenger seatbelt would slowly pull tight by itself, like someone had just leaned back into the seat. I finally told another driver at a rest area in Oklahoma. Older guy, probably late 60s. Been trucking his whole life. I barely finished the story before he asked, "County road, fields on both sides, fog sitting low?" I nodded. He went quiet. Then he told me something I wish I never heard. Years ago, back in the 70s, a driver hauling produce missed a turn somewhere along the Arkansas border farm roads during a flood season. He got stuck overnight on a dirt county road. No cell phones back then. He stayed in the truck waiting for daylight. He was found 3 days later. Truck running. Lights on. Driver sitting in the passenger seat. Door open. No footprints anywhere around the truck. And the strangest part, the road he was found on hadn't existed for over 10 years. It had been plowed into farmland. The old driver looked at me and said, "Some roads don't stay in one place." I laughed it off in front of him. I didn't feel like laughing when I got back to my truck, because hanging from the inside of my passenger door was wet mud, fresh, and a single footprint on my cab floor, facing the driver's seat. I ended up changing companies and routes after that. I avoid rural deliveries now whenever I can. Most nights are normal again. But every once in a while, usually around midnight, my GPS screen flickers. The map zooms out by itself. And a road appears. No name, no number. Just a thin line going into empty land. And for a second, the truck's steering wheel pulls slightly to the right, like something is trying to take that turn again. I keep both hands on the wheel when that happens. I don't slow down, because I have a feeling, if I ever turn onto that road again, I won't be coming back this time. I tried to ignore it after that. For months, nothing major happened, just long drives, podcasts, coffee, and highways. I almost convinced myself the whole thing had faded away, until last winter. I was hauling paper rolls through Missouri in January. Snow had already fallen earlier that week, and the roads were empty. It was one of those nights where the sky is perfectly clear, but the ground is still frozen and silent. Around 12:47 a.m., my GPS screen flickered. At first, I thought it was just the power cable again. The map zoomed out by itself, farther than it normally could. The highways disappeared, towns vanished, and all I saw was dark land. Then a single road appeared. No name, no route number, just a thin gray line, and I felt the truck begin to slow. I wasn't braking. My foot was still on the accelerator, but the truck was decelerating like I was easing onto an exit ramp. The engine RPM dropped on its own. That's when I looked up. My headlights weren't hitting the interstate anymore. They were lighting up a narrow dirt road. I don't remember taking an exit. I don't remember turning the wheel, but I was off the highway, the same kind of road, fields on both sides, and fog sitting low across the ground. My hands locked on the steering wheel. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over the engine. I whispered, "No, no, no, no." I pressed the brakes. They didn't respond. The truck kept rolling forward slowly, like it was coasting downhill even though the road was flat. My CB radio crackled to life. No static this time, just breathing. Slow, steady breathing from the speaker. Then the passenger seat shifted beside me. The seat cushion compressed, clear as day, like someone had just sat down. I didn't turn my head. I couldn't. I kept staring forward as the truck rolled deeper into the fog. And then I heard a voice beside me, not from the radio, from inside the cab, very close to my right ear. A tired, raspy voice. "You made it back." My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the wheel. The truck finally stopped, engine still running, headlights pointed into empty fog. I forced myself to look at the passenger seat. For a moment I saw nothing. Then slowly, water began dripping onto the floor mat. Wet boot prints appeared one after another, forming in real time, leading from the passenger seat to the door. The door handle turned by itself. The passenger door opened. Cold air rushed into the cab, and I heard footsteps walk away from the truck into the darkness. The CB radio clicked once, then silence. My brakes suddenly worked again. I slammed the truck into reverse and backed up without even checking mirrors. The wheels caught pavement almost immediately. I spun the truck around and drove straight until I reached the interstate again. I never saw that road on my GPS afterward, but I checked something when I got home. I pulled up satellite maps and searched the area where I left the highway. There was no road there, only farmland, and one small shape in the field, an old rectangular outline barely visible in the snow, like the foundation of a structure that used to exist. Later, I found an old county record online. A farmhouse once stood there in the 1960s. During a winter flood, a stranded truck driver had taken shelter inside while waiting for morning. The house collapsed overnight. He never made it out. I think that night, the road didn't want me. I think it wanted a ride, and for the first time since it happened, my GPS hasn't tried to reroute me again. But sometimes when I park at night, I still leave the passenger seat empty, because every now and then, right before I fall asleep, I hear wet boots step onto the metal truck steps outside my door, and stop, like someone is checking if I saved them a seat. I actually thought it was over after that night. For almost 6 months, nothing happened. No fogged glass. No my CB radio voices. No GPS reroutes. I finally started sleeping normally again. I even began parking in darker rest areas without leaving the cab lights on. Whatever followed me seemed gone. Then, in early spring, my company assigned me a new regular route, Missouri to Arkansas, the same region I'd been avoiding. I tried switching loads, but dispatch told me it was temporary, just a few weeks, day drives mostly. I told myself it would be fine. Everything that happened before was at night anyway. The first 2 trips were normal. On the third trip, I was driving just before sunrise. The sky was gray, not fully morning yet. Farms stretched on both sides of the highway, and there was a low ground fog sitting across the fields. I remember glancing at the clock, 5:18 a.m., then my fuel gauge dropped to empty, instantly. No warning, no gradual fall, just full to zero. Seconds later, the truck engine died. I coasted onto the shoulder. I knew the tank wasn't empty. I had fueled less than 2 hours earlier. The cab became completely silent. No cars passed. No wind. Just that same heavy quiet I remembered from the first night. And then I heard it. Not outside. Underneath the truck. A slow dragging sound, like something moving through wet dirt directly below the cab. It circled once beneath me, then stopped directly under my driver's seat. My door handle shook slightly, not violently. Just a small testing movement. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. And then for the first time I heard clear words. Not whispered. Not through the radio. Directly beside me. Very calm. "You left me there." My hands were frozen on the steering wheel. I managed to say, barely above a whisper, "I didn't know how to help you." The truck shifted slightly, as if weight moved onto the side step. Then I heard a slow knock, 3 times, on the outside of the driver door. I don't know why I did it, but I spoke again. "I'm sorry." The silence lasted maybe 10 seconds. Then the truck power returned. The dashboard lit back up. My fuel gauge jumped to full, and the engine started by itself. I sat there shaking for a long time before pulling back onto the road. Nothing else happened that morning. But when I reached my destination and opened my trailer doors to unload, there was mud on the metal floor inside the trailer. Wet footprints. They started at the front wall and ended at the rear doors, as if someone had walked the entire length of the trailer while it was sealed. I requested a transfer that same day. I don't do long haul anymore. I took a local warehouse job and I'm home every night now. But I still keep something in my house. On a small shelf near my front door, a spare trucker's cap I bought at a travel plaza. I don't wear it. I leave it there, because ever since that morning, on some nights around midnight, I hear 3 slow knocks on my front door. I never open it, but once, I looked through the peephole. There was nobody on the porch. Just wet footprints, standing directly outside the door, facing in, and I realized something I hadn't understood before. It wasn't trying to harm me. It just didn't want to be alone on that road anymore. And somehow, I was the only one who ever stopped. I actually finished writing everything you just heard almost a year ago. I recorded it, listened back to it once, and then never touched it again. But something happened 3 nights ago. I woke up at exactly 12:47 a.m., not because of a noise, because my bedroom felt cold. Not normal cold, the kind that feels damp, like air coming from a basement. My house was completely quiet. No traffic outside, no wind, just silence. Then I heard it, very faint, metal. A hollow metallic tap, tap, tap. It took me a few seconds to realize what it sounded like. Boots. Stepping onto metal truck steps. I don't own a truck anymore. I live in a 1-story house. The sound came from my front door. I stayed in bed and listened. 3 slow knocks hit the door. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m., the same time my GPS rerouted me that night. I told myself not to get up, but I did anyway. I walked to the door and didn't open it. I just stood there. On the other side, I could hear something faint, like fabric lightly brushing the wood. Then I heard breathing, not aggressive, not angry, just tired, and a voice, clearer than ever before. "Thank you for stopping." I couldn't move. My hand was on the doorknob, but I never turned it. After maybe 15 seconds, the weight against the door slowly disappeared. The porch boards creaked once, then nothing. I waited until sunrise before opening it. There were no footprints this time, no mud, no marks, just one thing, sitting neatly in the center of my porch. An old rusted truck key, heavy metal, the kind they used decades ago. I don't know what truck it belongs to. I don't even know if it belongs to this time, but I keep it now, and here's the part that still bothers me. Every night since then, I sleep normally. No knocks, no footsteps, no voices, which should make me feel relieved. But it doesn't, because I have a feeling the road finally got what it wanted, and whatever waited out there isn't waiting anymore.